Okay. I believe that we are live. I think. Let me see. It's gonna come in and catch us doing all the talking in there and whatnot. It should be fine. The joys of filming live episodes.
A little bit easier than editing, though.
Yeah, a little bit. Alright, let's see. Are we on? I think we're live. Make sure. We are live. Alright, cool. And welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Ronan, and it is a huge pleasure of mine to bring back the original thing that started this channel, which was my podcast, Hardcore Fiction, where we talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. All things fictional. I'm here today with my guest, Kelly.
Hey!
We're here talking about magic. Not the card game Magic. Well, we'll probably go over that at some point of the episode, but mostly about magic in film, movies, media, stories, all the good stuff in between. And pretty much it. So yeah, let's get moving along. First things first to talk about, since we're talking about magic, I figured bring up the card game. I've never played it.
I have never played it either, and I almost got just a little spicy over it when I realized the cards basically become useless when they make a new one, from what I understand.
What? See, I didn't know that.
Maybe it's another card game I'm getting it mixed up with.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never played it. From my understanding, I was told that basically, and this is from a person who is a hardcore Magic fan, I was told that Magic is all the parts of D&D that people don't like.
Oh, well, that sounds stinky.
And that was a deterrent for me for not wanting to even try or attempt it.
I was a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, so.
Oh, okay. Yu-Gi-Oh plays like Magic, right? A little bit, or?
Yeah, just, you have your cards and one trumps the other. You have them paired up just right within your plays, and you can decimate the other opponent. They had a whole TV show
okay.
built around it.
I watched some of the episodes of the show. I didn't really get too much into the actual card game or nothing. Because I think I was, at the time when it came out, I was a hardcore Pokemon. I was a Pokemon kid for sure.
Yes, I was looking at the Pokemon kids like, but this one has edge.
Ooh. I think that one of the things that a lot of people are going to be wondering about too, if anybody does wonder, is Magic as far as it's shown in movies and video games and stuff like that. To me, I think it's kind of weird that there's so much put into it that makes it seem so I don't know. It's kind of generic in some movies that I watch. I think you brought it up to me, the Doctor Strange, how he does it he's doing jutsus with his hands, it's just kind of all the same thing, kind of how does he know what spell is different, kind of thing. Because we talked about it before when I originally threw the idea at you about doing this and using magic as the topic, and then that was the thing that you jumped up. Mind you, we had done a lot of dabs after we had talked about this conversation, which
were excited.
Oh yeah, and I remember you got up. You were yeah, how the hell does he know which spell he's doing? I'm that's fucking right. I sat there, thought about it, and I went back and watched the Doctor Strange movie, and I'm this guy's doing the same hand gestures with everything. Don't get me wrong, I liked the Doctor Strange movie. It was good. I like both of them. I like Doctor Strange, the character from the comics, but that does bother me. He doesn't say nothing. He's doing the same exact... I think if you watch... I've watched the movie. I watched both of them, and they both, side by side, he's doing a lot of, the exact same...
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
And, going by, any kind of actual traditional witchcraft, which is what I brought up in that example, I'm wow, it was so crazy how in all this fiction and all the things I've seen, the one thing they got right was you can't alter the spell as you're doing the spell, because you will have long-term consequences beyond your control, because there isn't even a guarantee the spell is going to take.
Exactly.
So, when he was doing his little thing for Peter Parker, and he changed it 5 times during the casting, he's everyone from every universe is going to come here and implode our universe because of you. And I'm wow, that's super exaggerated. I mean, I don't think human magic could do that.
Right. Also,
But
really bold of him to blame Peter. Like,
right,
you're the
like
one who stopped it 5 times. Like, well, you're the one who could have, like, not done anything and
you
been like, what do you want?
yes, you chose to alter a spell mid-cast, and you knew that this child didn't have the greatest wisdom, and you're letting him lead you, so...
No, absolutely. And that's what threw me off about that. And I'm sure one of the other, not elephant, but elephant in the room as far as, like, magic and topic of magic, I'm sure people are going to wonder about it, too, is, like, Harry Potter. Like, okay.
Like...
that says a lot right there.
What's your opinion on wands? Because you have actual mythos around specific woods to use,
Okay.
but then you have Harry Potter.
Before I unload my full clip of what I think about wands, I want to hear what you think about wands first.
As a practitioner
Okay.
of magic, like, you don't need all the things you think you need because you're the caster, you're the source of power. So if you really wanted to, you could use your finger. That's
Right.
why, Evil Eye is like, you gotta be careful. You don't point your finger at someone with accusations because you're
Right.
sending that energy. So with Harry Potter, using the wand is like this literal magic stick that affects the laws of physics to just be like, poof.
Because
Just such pure fantasy, like the height of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we all wish we could just, change reality.
Now, like for that though, like, because I've only watched very little bit of Harry Potter. And this is coming from a person who loves movies. I love film. I love all kinds of movies. I love musicals. I like cartoons. I like everything in between as far as film goes. Harry Potter movies have put me to sleep. I have watched one Harry Potter movie from beginning to end, and that was The Goblet of Fire. That is the only one that has kept my attention long enough for that.
I think that was a really popular one.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen bits and pieces from friends that were really into it.
Yeah. And I don't know. Now, my opinion on wands, because I think the first thing I ever saw somebody cast a spell with as far as a wand goes was the fairy godmother from Cinderella.
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid and being like, well, why does she need the wand? Like, is the wand magic or is she magic? Like,
Because if the wand is magic, then it can fall into the wrong hands, and now we got problems.
right. That's what I mean. So, like, it'd be like the same thing of, like, Star Wars, because I count Star Wars as magic, too. I don't care what and I'm sure if any Star Wars person hears this, they're going to flip out on me and tell me some shit, but I don't really care. It'd be like in Star Wars, because Star Wars, like I said, is magic. So it'd be like, you can't be a Jedi unless you have your lightsaber. Like, you can't even use the Force unless you have the lightsaber.
No, that straight up sounds like it's just space magic.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's not how it works, but that would be the same concept to me. That's why I think Harry Potter magic was always like, like, it is what it is. And I know there's been some movies where Dumbledore doesn't use magic. He just kind of does it, and he's just like, boom. And I've seen some scenes where he's conjuring, like, fireballs, and there's, like, duels and stuff. I'm like, that looks pretty dope. But as far as, like, the whole thing goes, from, like, clips I've seen and everything like that, like, the magic just looks, I hate to say it, but it looks kind of lame. It just doesn't really look, it looks like the time you take to sit there and do a avacadabra or whatever the fuck like that, then, anybody can just, like, pull out a 9 and be like, blow, son.
I was going to say, from a Savage point of view, it's performative and it goes too slow. It's like the villain doing his speech, and it's like, that was your shot. That was your opening. You could have, why are we waiting here? Like, this is...
You could have literally unloaded on this person, reloaded your gun, and then done it again, but you're going to sit here and do that whole bit with that. Oh my god, I can't stand it.
I mean, from the controversy from the author, I mean, that itself is its own little section. So, like, if you're going to try to ignore that and try to appreciate the whole of it, it's like a warm, fuzzy drink of an ideal of magic that I think we've seen repeated, and she just kind of, like, smushed it together in her own view.
Yeah, all in all together, it is meant for kids.
Right.
From what I understand. I've never touch the Harry Potter book other than to move it out of my way.
I got like maybe 10 pages, I'm gonna guess 10 pages in, but I got done reading the description about this lamppost, and I'm like, I don't think Harry Potter's for me.
Like, this might not be what I want. Actually, come to think about it, this isn't what I want to read about. But, unfortunately, and it is with a heavy heart that I say this, magic, and since we're on the topic of magic and film specifically right now, Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. I watch all, and yes, I know I'm probably going to get some eye rolls. I watch all 6 of them every year around wintertime when it's really shitty, and we live in Michigan, so Michigan winters are rough. I say this as it's 30 degrees outside with not a single drop of snow, and it is the first day that it's been under 40, I think, in 2 weeks here in Michigan.
That's because we had a weird heat bubble.
Oh, more magic.
Yeah.
But Lord of the Rings, though, I don't really understand the magic in that world.
I just watched a YouTube little documentary, I guess you could call it, but it's Strange Dark Origins about whatever, and they had picked the Lord of the Rings because it seemed to mimic one of the Bible stories, because this ring has this great immense power to turn men into evil, greedy things to serve the ring's purpose.
Right.
So we have our little hero here trying so hard to meet his goal, and he's right at the edge of the volcano, and he's about to drop that ring in, and he slips it on his finger instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Gollum, he never wore the ring, but he just held the ring, which is why he's all decrepit and ancient. He comes out of nowhere, cuts his finger off that has the ring on it, and they both just kind of fall into the volcano. So, like, in a way, the situation gets solved, but, like, not in the traditional, our hero is the hero. Like, he failed, but somehow the universe intervened magically.
Mm-hmm.
From this one magic item.
Right, and that's what I mean, like, it seems like in that world, more like the items, like, it goes back to, like, how we were talking about Harry Potter, like, are they magic, or is the item magic? And that's what it feels like in Lord of the Rings, is it does very much feel like the items that they have are magical, not them. Like,
I feel like in media, that's what you get a lot. They say, like, this one thing is what gives you your power.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, take from The Witcher, because, it's said outright that it's just magic. It doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's an illusion.
Mm-hmm. There's more illusions than anything else. We're hopping around a lot for movies, but whatever. There's a movie that came out, I want to say in 1994, 95. I might have my time wrong. Let me do a quick little Google search here, which is, by the way, we are not sponsored by Google. I don't think I could ever be sponsored by Google. But there's a movie called Lord of Illusions. And there's a scene in Lord of Illusions where the guy is talking about magicians. And he's like, magicians. And he's like, magician is trickery. Magic is real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but like,
I feel that.
But can we see some of that?
Yeah, can we get an example? Oh, well, I mean, I guess an example would be
95, I was right. Okay. Well, I said 96. But yeah, that was the one that really was weird to me in Lord of the Rings, because I kept trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, is Lord of the Rings, like, are they magic, or are the items? Because I kept seeing more items in the movie that are doing magical things, like the ring, obviously, Gandalf's staff, Saruman's little sphere that he was looking through, and like the swords, the rope, the little vial, the star that Galadriel gave to Frodo, the little water thing he uses like a glow stick or whatever. But it's like, so again, it just keeps bringing me to that question. Like, in movies, it seems like the people aren't magic; it's the items and the surroundings that they have that allow them to be magical.
They do. That is usually the way it's set up in Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
He actually kind of set the tone for that type of fantasy when he created Lord of the Rings. So, like, he kind of paved the way for all of that a little bit.
Oh yeah, that was a huge thing for me to see too when I saw like that Tolkien's world that he made of Lord of the Rings is pretty much like Middle Earth is.
He wanted his
what set
own
everything, yeah.
mythology from his own culture, and he couldn't find it, so he created it, and that's fucking awesome. You always get like the most beautiful stories from something like that.
It is the most beautiful thing about fantasy, though, and fiction, is that you can do anything. You don't have to really explain much. Like I've always said, the three things that I always like disregard that somebody can just say that in a movie, like even just a quick retcon for it, like it's this, and I'm like, okay, aliens, like oh, it's alien stuff, cool, all right, I accept
Yeah.
it. Magic, all right, cool, I accept it. And then usually, but I still kind of have a little bit of on it is like future. It's from the future. Like oh okay.
See, I was gonna bring up Back to the Future because they have that quantum flux generator.
Yeah, the flux capacitor.
Yeah, they had to make that up so it could make sense in the story, but we don't know what the fuck it is.
Right.
It works for the
Well,
story.
that's what I'm saying. Like I like those kind of things, and that's some of the stuff that stands out the most to me with those kind of little nice little decorations that they throw into movies.
Yeah, just to, because you gotta have suspended belief for a moment so you can
Mhm.
really enjoy it.
Well, it's like moving. I guess we'll move our way into cartoons now.
Mm-hmm.
Naruto
Mm.
is the one that stands out the most to me if I'm thinking about magic stuff and anime. And I know some people are going to be like, well, what about this and this? But Naruto's one that stands out the most.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
The
well, that
biggest
one, that's the big one too. But I guess they both kind of relate in that sense of like anytime they want to cast a spell or do anything, it's the jutsus, it's the quick hand movements, or it's the alchemist. You got to have like a circle or something, you know.
Which is interesting because we do have hand mudras in reality, but like
Mhm.
it's purely for meditative purposes.
Yeah, and I do know in the Japanese cultures that those are symbols, that ninjutsu, like they do use those. As far as I know, don't quote me on that. And if people want to get all like, "That's not what it's for, you son of a bitch," like, sorry, okay. But from what I understand in the videos I've seen and the bit I've talked about and the stuff I've read, like, yeah, I see like the ninjas will do that. The ninjutsus they'll cut and they'll make 9 sections, 9 cuts with their hands to like line up the cheese of the jitsus and stuff like that. Like I've seen that, and if I'm getting that wrong, I'm very sorry to anybody that's gonna like be upset and want to correct me on that. If you want to correct me on it, put it in the comments or whatever. But
Right, because I feel like that ties into Doctor Strange because
Oh, yeah.
that one lady like gave him an out of body
oh,
experience.
right. If I'd have done it every time I got one of those. Well, back to cartoons though. Like clearly the biggest target here is going to be Disney. Every Disney movie has magic. Magic is so like this whimsical, like oh.
I mean, Disney's gone out of its way to purchase other domains, so they're trying to make magic.
I mean, if there was magic to actually truly be made in real life, Disney would find a way to stomp on it and stamp a little Mickey Mouse symbol on that thing. Come at me, Disney. Come at me, bro. I am one person in the big giant ether of YouTube. I'll say it right now. Fuck you.
Oh, there's a whole book called Grimm's Tales that wants to go neck to neck.
The first time I read a Grimm's fairy tale book,
Oof.
the first time I got in my hands on one of the stories, it's like Beauty and the Beast. I'm like, cool, and it's like, oh
No.
God.
My first experience was Cinderella.
Oh shit.
That was a fun one. I'm like, she lost her feet.
Yeah, bitch
This
got her feet
is-
cut off.
This is worse than foot binding. Oh my god.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it took me to what's that called again? We were just talking about it. Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
But when I read Beauty and the Beast, I'm here with my mental image in my head of being like, okay, this is gonna be fucking like the dad's the inventor and everything. I'm like, no, that's none of that. And like little like 11, 12-year-old me, his mind's being like just melted, and I'm like, that's not the original story of Beauty and the Beast. Like, what?
It's so dark.
Like figuring out like, oh, like Belle's dad was like, hey man, like I'll give you my youngest daughter. I don't even like her. I'll bring her back here to give to you. And it's like, whoa, dude. Like, but like the magic in those too, it always the magic that way it was portrayed in a lot of the Grimm stories. It's not like anything people could wield. It seemed like magic in the Grimm world was like it's more like a force of nature.
Yeah,
almost.
wild energy.
Yeah, like something that like you can like how if you go for a walk randomly and don't check your phone in the middle of the summer, there's a good chance you could walk and be caught in a thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it'd be the same way in that world. In the Grimm stories that the Brothers Grimm wrote, is that like magic is like a raw power that just kind of is around and nobody can wield it. Nobody can like harness it, and if you do, it's usually used in a negative way.
Yeah, we do see that repeatedly in a lot of stories. It's Loki, chaos, just being a conduit for something, and if you're not strong enough, well, it's going to overtake you.
Mm-hmm. Back into the movies. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Just jumped out of my head. It's because we were talking about Grimm stories. Hansel and Gretel.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch that one? Jeremy Renner, and I can't remember the other girl's name right now.
Mm.
Jeremy Renner and the girl from Clash of the Titans.
I'm not sure if I have, but I know the original Grimm tale of how that went, versus the one we were taught.
Yeah, the one for Hansel and Gretel, 2013. The one that came out for that one, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. It's got a very steampunk vibe going on with it. It wasn't bad. Her name is Gemma Arterton, I think her name is. Yeah, and it had Famke Jensen in it. She's a girl who played she played Jean Grey in X-Men, but she played Gretel, he played Hansel. But the way they talk about magic in their world is like nobody can use magic for good. Magic is always used for bad. Is pretty much how they portray it in that world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, big spoiler, big twist. They do show that it can be used for good, and you just got to use the right spells or whatever, yada yada. Like there's the white witches, and then there's the black witches. Not saying color. I'm talking about like good and evil kind of thing. I didn't mean it that way. I did not mean it that way. But the cool thing about that is all the witches have like a very disgusting appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it's because using magic takes a toll on the human body.
Mm-hmm.
And like your teeth will rot or your skin will start to look all that's how you get like the hags, heavy quotes. I know y'all can't see me doing the quotes with my hands, but heavy quotes, hags. So that was a cool concept to see like magic taken in a different look like that.
I just want to like take a little side adventure on that little hags thing because like it's so interesting how that became associated with the witch because I think it may have arisen during the witch trials. And often what they would do before they revealed this witch is they would torture the woman because that was their main method of getting the confession.
Oh yeah.
So they would see this hag in the street the next day, this beaten, bloodied woman with no teeth and bloodied face, black and blue, maybe hair ripped out or shaven.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at her, she's a witch. She's clearly a witch. You're like, yeah, look how she looks. Oh, her wounds are healing. She's clearly a witch.
Yeah. Oh, she did drown after we drowned her. I guess she wasn't a witch.
Good God. It takes me to, not magic related at all, but it takes me to the movie called The Count of Monte Cristo.
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie, the guy gets sent to a prison, like, innocent guy gets sent to prison. Well, the warden comes in and strings him up, hangs him by his arms up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I know you're probably thinking right now, oh God, why me? It's like, well, the truth is God's not really in France this time of year. He's like, God's everywhere. He's in everything. He's like, okay, I'll tell you what, you call it to God, and I'll stop hitting you when he shows up.
Oh,
and I'm like, holy shit, man.
That is just rough.
That's rude as fuck, bro.
That is, that is not how that
just
works.
shitting homeboy's cereal while you're at it. Damn, man.
Literally.
But, yeah, I guess now we can move our way from... We talked about cartoons, we've talked about movies, and we kind of hop back and forth between the two. Now, I know you haven't gamed a whole lot, but I'm sure you've seen a lot of games that have magic in it. And what are some that kind of have stood out to you and been like, oh, that's pretty neat, or that's kind of cool? Like,
I mean, Skyrim is a big one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I almost had Skyrim VR backdrop today, but I went with Ghost of Tsushima because I figured it's a nice, pleasant look. I like that. I think it looks nice.
But God of War, that's a good one.
Okay.
It's gritty and rough, but I think they stay a little bit more true.
Yeah,
even though it is fantasy.
Especially with Ragnarok and the one before, just the title for God of War for PS4 and PS5s. That one, yeah, I did like how they did that a lot. What stood out to it a lot for you that made you like it?
Well, like, it just seemed so... I know we all come at it from, like, a limited human perspective, but they really, like, brought humanity to the characters, and you kind of felt bad for the father and the way he was treating the son, because it's like, well, he is the God of War. He's not going to give his son a hug. He's going to be like, you need to do this.
Right. And just like himself is a walking embodiment of like magic, because people would say, well, they're like, what is the difference between godly powers and all that? Like, I would kind of wouldn't you kind of that fall into the same category as like magic? Would it magic be something that you can't really define? It's just an
It's
energy in the world kind of
it's
thing?
undefinable until you see it because it's so rare and people just can't do that. Like the way he would pick up and shoulder a huge giant log that humanly you would need a machine to move,
Hmm.
but he just picked it up like it was a stick.
Right. Him being a god, like even if he's half god or whatever, like that still is like a physical embodiment of like what magic is in that world.
Even then, we can take magic to the point where it's like a character trait. Like, wow, their strength in getting through that was so immense. Like, how did they get through it? That was like magic, a
Yeah.
miracle.
Otherworldly, other dimensional. I know they in God of War, especially, I loved how the Freya was portrayed
Mm-hmm.
because she was a witch. You know, they were very open. Like, yeah, she was basically like a thing of the way, a druid almost.
Yep.
She was almost like a druid. Like she worked and lived in nature, and that was her. That was her weapon. That was how she was. But the thing I love the most about her, because now we're gonna get sidetracked and talk about God of War. I know it, but I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyways. The thing I loved is how frightening she was. Because when you first see her, she's this sweet, warm summer breeze. When you talk to her, she's down talking to Atreus. You know, she's got her friends and she's
Yeah.
helping heal and she's all nice. And then she turns at the end when her son dies, and she comes at him with all of this like ferocity and this viciousness. And then you see her in the next movie, or in the next, I say movie because I watched it like a movie. You see in the next game, in the first image where you see her, she looks like a fucking character out of a horror movie. You just see her silhouette standing there like hyperventilating with a sword in her hand, and she runs head on, and Kratos is like, oh shit, like she's gonna fuck me up. But I did like her magic in there was, I mean, because Freya is, I mean, my Norse mythology is kind of rusty. I'm sure you probably have a better grasp on it than I. But I understand, like, Freya, like, she is a god as well, isn't she? She is, like,
Yeah.
up there. Okay. And that makes sense, because her witch powers kind of, like, I guess not just this example, but all examples of magic, like, where is the limit? Like, what can't you do with magic? Because I'll see all these things in movies and games and stuff, and they're like, oh, like, magic, magic. Okay, but what can it do? Because she did, like, she was healing people, she was traveling through other dimensions, she possesses a giant at the end of the game. Like,
See, yeah, because that's a lot, and it really depends, like fictitious magic or mythology magic, because Freya is the goddess of death, fertility, love, battle, so that's a lot to cover.
yeah,
So it would make sense that you would kind of go against the main rule that, like, in magic you usually can't bring back anyone, and if you do, it's not going to be the same.
right. One of the things that I'll make sure to come back to that specific statement here in a second. But one of the things that stands out to me, and like you can't use it because it'll change you, kind of thing. It brings it right back to that, like how I was talking about the Hansel and Gretel movie. How, like, you know, it does take a toll on a person, and I like that. Like, the limits of the magic that you can use is not on the magic spell; it's on the person that's doing it. Like, can you handle this? Like, the same as, like, you know, doing like a pull up.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, it kind of does depend on the person, and if you're going to look at it from actual witchcraft standpoint, but even from, like, fictitious, The Witcher,
Mm-hmm.
they have to give something up in order to perform a spell, no matter what it is, and
A lot like Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah.
yeah, and, like, the main example that was brought up was, like, the flower. Sometimes a flower is just a flower.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think was her roundabout way of saying, like, you need to embrace your power and not feel bad that I turned your friends into eels so they could be conduits for this building, because you're the real powerful one here and you have potential, so it's a flower.
Yeah.
But to never forget that, like, there's a trade-off.
Oh yeah, and I loved. I'm definitely going to segue into Witcher just a little bit because I know you're a fan. I'm a fan, and I know there's a lot of fans out there for The Witcher. But I loved the woman that plays Yennefer. I thought she looked exactly how I imagined her looking because I never played any of the games.
Mm-mm.
I still till this day have played maybe an hour of a Witcher game.
I have seen pictures of the Witcher game, and I
Mhm.
think, like, pixelated. They got it pretty on point.
Yeah. And I was down, but like I had watched the show, and I still watched the show before I never looked up any game footage. It just never was something I was like, and which is weird because people are like, well, why wouldn't you been to it? It's right up your alley. You love Ghost of Tsushima, you love Assassin's Creed, like Skyrim. Like, why wouldn't you play this? I don't know what it was about it. I just never could do it. I don't know why. But the books, I fell in love with the books, and in the books, the way they talk about her and the way they describe her, I imagined her looking like almost exactly like that, and it freaked me out when I saw her. I'm like, holy shit, like. Especially when she does the big reveal and you see her walk in and she looks like,
Yeah.
she's rocking her feathers and she's doing the long black hair and the purple eyes and everything. I was like, all right, this chick's badass.
They got that description
Oh yeah,
spot on, even though they just kept deviating, doing their own version.
yeah. Now, magic in video games. I know we did start. You had mentioned Skyrim, which is a pretty big one to point out. And it kind of goes back with all the other things that we were talking about, like, oh, they just learned a spell just by picking up a book and reading it, and boom, you got the spell, boom. It's,
right,
it's there. No training necessary.
Well, I think you need to train, sir, because, like, you can memorize the words, but, like,
Oh yeah,
if you're not Dragonborn, you can't do the Fusra.
the Fusroda, the voice, the power of the voice,
The scream.
the scream. But I think that's why it's easy. I think that would be the way to like one word that away in the game is like, well, how can you absorb all these spells and everything? Well, you're the Dragonborn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because, well, then at that point, you have to be born with it. The person's magical.
Yeah.
And all these other artifacts are just bonuses.
That it took back to right on that subject too. It took me to a long time to realize the difference between a wizard, a sorcerer, and a warlock, and a witch. I'm like, what are all those things? I'm like, well, a witch is, I guess, apparently the feminine version of what a warlock is, and a warlock is the masculine version of what a witch is, a practitioner of magic and spells and curses.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, what is a wizard? And a wizard is somebody who learns magic, spells, casting spells, and all that other stuff. And then a sorcerer is somebody who is born with the ability to wield magic. As far as what my definition from what I was explained to me, that was it. I could have gotten that wrong. My understanding could have been wrong. It was also at a party when I heard this. I was very drunk, but I made sure I was sobering up in this conversation because me and this guy were talking, and he was going off about Skyrim. And me and him got in this huge conversation about Skyrim, and that's when he explained to me what the difference between wizards and sorcerers and warlocks and witches was. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
I mean, I was always kind of muddied on it too because, like, if a witch and a warlock are just like gendered terms, wouldn't they just automatically fall under wizard or sorcerer depending on if they learned or not? Like,
Right, that's what I mean. I figure like a magic wielder is a magic wielder. That's why I always just like the term mage.
Yeah,
I always thought mage was a good one. It's like, all right, they're a mage. Cool. I can dig that.
covers all of it.
The trope that always bothers me, with any game, any portrayal in movies, most of the time anyways, that magic wielders are weak.
Yeah, that's another one. Because usually it's an illusion, it's not real.
Or they're exhausted because they're casting spells, so they're not physically strong enough to fight back, or they get hit once and they're like, oh, I fall.
Glass bones.
Yeah, I'm made out of glass and thoughts and theory.
Yeah, because they're usually paired up with the healer, you know.
I need the barbarian to defend me as I sit here for 10 minutes and try to cast this spell.
Yeah, and then you got Yennefer at the end. She's looking upon the field of enemies, and she's like, I want to burn you.
Yeah, it just burns everybody down. That's what I think I loved so much about Gandalf. Because I remember watching Lord of the Rings when I was a kid in theaters with my family. And he was one of my favorites when I first watched it. He blew me away. I was like, this dude's awesome. He looks like Merlin. He's this old man. But he can fucking throw down, too. And I'm like, that's fucking dope. I love that.
Yeah, he held his own as long as he could because, you know, he's old.
Oh, yeah. And then he went balls out with the fucking Balrog. Like, when I was a kid thinking, like, oh, he lost his grip and he fell back. And then, like, the next year, the next movie came out, and it's like, he didn't fall. He's going to get his sword.
Well, he's falling back.
Yeah. One of my favorite memes that I ever seen was Lord of the Rings meme, and it shows Gandalf standing there with Lord of the Rings people, and it's like, with the whole Fellowship, and it goes Frodo, it, like, names everybody. He goes, they were playing Skyrim, and it goes, meanwhile Gandalf, he was playing Dark Souls.
Yes.
It just cuts to him fighting the Balrog. I'm like, yeah, that's very, very true.
That is accurate because like he was going hard and those other people were just chill homebodies that came
Oh,
across
yeah.
this cursed ring and now they have this fucking task.
That's why he told him, like, run, get the fuck out of here. Y'all don't know what you're doing yet. All right, from games, and we're gonna go to what is your favorite that you've seen so far in, like, a movie or in game, just in general, just something that covers it all. Like, what has been your favorite portrayal of magic that you've seen? That one that you've seen, you're like, that's cool. Like, that one stands out to me the most. Like, I appreciate that one.
I know I've brought it up. I would say Yennefer because she had a huge turnaround in
Mhm.
character development and
Mhm.
she, even though she was the one that said like it's magic, it doesn't mean anything, I think that was just her own issues speaking on it because in the end she used her magic to save people so many times.
Right.
Like it's not fake if it's actually working, is it?
Not to mention in the book all the shit, all the little mischievous shit she does with her magic. Like, it's pretty bad. So like that's one of the ones that stands out to you. Mine, oh, I have so many difficult ones to go and bounce around with. I think one of mine, it probably goes. It's going to sound a bit contradictory because we both kind of roasted on people with wands.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorites, this is one of my favorites. It's on a game called Dragon's Dogma. And in Dragon's Dogma, you're kind of like how Skyrim, how you have the Dovahkiin, the Dragonborn. Well, in this one, you have the Arisen. And the Arisen shares a soul with the dragon. Like, he gets his heart taken out, but he's still alive. He's still, like, alive and well, but he's missing his heart. And dragon eats his heart at the end of the game, and you're this, like, chosen one kind of person.
Oh yeah.
There have been other Arisens in time and whatever. But one of the things you can do in the game is you can choose which class to pick. And there's all these different ones. And one of them that stood out to me was Magic Archer. Magic Archer, I'm like, well, what the hell's Magic Archer? Well, it's what it says. And I was like, this is cool. It's a person who is wielding magic, but they're using their bow to cast the spells. And I thought that was such a fucking cool concept. I'm like, that is so dope.
That's so awesome. That's better than a wand.
Oh yeah, because you're shooting, you're like pulling, like the bow you have in the game is like, you get many different ones, but the first one you start off with, it looks like just like half of a bow without a string on it. It's got like a little hole in the middle where you can aim to. But when you arm it, you pick it up and a light beam comes out of it and you're pulling back on like a ray of light and you're shooting like missiles out of this thing, like magic missiles like made out of light out of it, and it's really cool.
Oh, that is really cool.
That's one that stands out to me a lot. I really, really appreciated that one a lot. And for some reason, and this might segue a little bit into our game that we play. This is not a plug for for my game that I've been working on. I swear it's not. It just so happens to fall into the topic today. But while I'm at it, might as well plug it in. I've been working on a game for the past, I don't know, 5-6 years. It's kind of like D&D. It's tabletop RPG, and we get together as often as we possibly can. We play it, and we have a good time. We just kind of kick back and chill. But I use it in there because it's something I haven't seen too much of in media and movies and stuff, and I want to see more of it. Is the tattoos
Ooh, yeah.
on the body, carrying the spell and carrying the magic with you. I think that is really cool, and I think one of the ones that kind of sparked that in my brain was it's gonna sound really weird to some people, but Supernatural.
That was a good show, though.
Yeah, but you know how Dean and Sam were able to not get possessed anymore because they had the tattoos
Right.
over their heart.
On their ribs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and on the ribs. Like, I'm like, okay, that's pretty dope. And then it got me thinking when I was a kid watching that, I'm like, wouldn't that be cool to just like, that's where your spells were. They were in your tattoos. And there's another movie, I can't believe I'm using this as something as an example, but it's called Elektra.
I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah, it's a superhero movie. I like the character, hated the movie. But in the movie, there's a guy who he has control over animals, but they're in his tattoos. Like there's a hawk that goes out and spying for people, and then it flies over and it embeds itself back into his back. He has like a hawk tattoo on his back. And like he attacks her with a bunch of these giant snakes that coming at him, but they're coming out of his arm because they're tattooed over his arm and stuff.
I mean, that's pretty badass.
That's what I'm saying. And I've seen it a little bit here and there, but it's never...
It's not very popular because I think tattoos are still just a little bit taboo. Maybe?
Maybe, or just maybe that people are just too caught up in like making it more convenient to do the cool stuff with the hands.
Maybe it's not as showy as they want it to be.
Yeah.
That and I don't know if it matters anything, but if you've ever noticed, you know, like, where's all the adult movies? Like, it's just funny how you're not seeing the level. It's because you're not. They're purposely marketing it for the teenage.
Well, they're marketing it so that everyone can watch it. We want something that everybody can eat, not just you. We want everybody to eat this.
And it's like, that's cool, but like, you know, the adults are taking the teens to see these movies.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
But I would like to, I guess, that would bring me back over to just that topic in general. I want to see more mature content.
Something for adults specifically, because, like, you know, I know we gotta, like, the kids. We can't...
Wu-Tang's for the kids, man.
To quote Bill Burr, we can't nerf the edges of the world.
No.
We gotta let some things be for adults, so, like, you know, what about the Punisher now that Disney owns him?
Is he still
Come on now.
Is he still gonna be shooting motherfuckers in the face or what?
Come on now, you can't just make him soft.
Do you have a lighter on you by chance? Because we're filming this live and we got the idea to I had the idea of setting everything up here on the table, and we're sitting here in front of the TV and I'm talking on the mic and I've been staring at this joint for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I gotta light this thing up already, and I haven't. So I hope all of you watching are enjoying so far. Go ahead and leave me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the podcast so far, and welcome back to the return of Hardcore Fiction. And I'm happy to be back doing this, and I'm not sure if we're going to get a lot more of the live episodes going to be shooting out, but we will probably do some pre-record ones, that way I can kind of cut out the fat here and there once in a while. But yeah, so far so good. I hope y'all are enjoying the ride.
I have not a lighter upon me.
I have a lighter. While we're thinking of that, give me your opinion on some of the... We talked about our favorite ones. What's some of the worst ones you've seen in movies?
Some of the worst ones, I'll have to take a second. Because I have already thought about how funny it was Doctor Strange chose to fuck up his spell 5 times as he was casting it. That's the most recent one I'm on. That's a funny one. But, I think my one that I don't like the most is when people are like, it's an illusion, it doesn't matter. Only because, like, I look at how important stories are for cultures as a whole. Like, we are a species that likes to sit around a fire and tell a good tale. Mythology has been used as warnings to teach lessons, to just learn about the seasons and the animals and how to be a good person. That magic is a huge little device that makes our mundane world a little bit better.
And it is something, I mean, I'm not trying to be here with a tinfoil hat or nothing, but I am a firm believer that supernatural things do exist. And I do see magic as being something that could possibly exist in the world. I don't put anything past anybody, or even reality. But,
to be cheesy, and quote Futurama, to be God and to intervene, you want to do it just enough to make them wonder if you're actually there at all, or if it was random. So, you know, you go out, in their example, they had Bender with the whole civilization on his body, and he kept intervening constantly, and they were, like, hardcore worshipping him, but if he didn't intervene, they would basically self-sabotage and start wars, because God isn't doing this for me.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe magic is something we make.
I think magic kind of goes... And the way I actually see magic is how I talked about it earlier, and how I said that I feel like it's something that is more of like a force of nature. Something that we can't control it, we can just kind of more or less guide it,
Almost
or
like
aim it.
electricity?
Yeah, like a running river that's just roaring and roaring and going. Like, you're not going to be able to control it unless you build a dam, but then what's the point?
You
I guess
can't
that's a bad
really
example.
dam it. I mean, Sanford had that issue with the dam, so like,
Right.
you could, but what's the long-term consequences?
There you go. But yeah, I see it as that. Like, I think if it in the world of ifs, if it is out there, if it's something that's real, then it's something that we can't really fully ever hope to do, like Doctor Strange or Harry Potter level magic with.
Oh, and if we can, there's no way they'd want us people to just have that access to it, because then
Oh,
what's
yeah.
the motive of profit if magic really does exist?
Oh yes.
That changes reality way more than aliens existing.
Oh yeah. My least favorite portrayal of magic, I have to say, is probably Harry Potter. Since we're talking about stuff like that, I'm not a fan. I mean, clearly it goes without saying, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. Fight me. I'm sorry if I'm not.
It's just a little boring. I grew up
Yeah.
on Dean Koontz and Stephen King, so
Right.
it was soft.
I grew up as little. Other kids were watching Power Rangers and stuff like that. I was watching Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers stuff too growing up, but my exposure as a child was like Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. I was watching, the Magic Sword. I was watching Beastmaster. I was watching all these like crazy psycho wizards on the top of their tower, like Willow, and I was watching all that shit when I was a kid. So when it came around to show like these things in movies, I was like, eh.
You kind of already passed
Yeah, I was
that
like,
level.
Not to sound like a smug dick or nothing, but I was like, I'm beyond this. Like this is beyond. This is beneath me right now. I've already passed this part.
Yeah, like I watched The Grudge at a very young age. I don't know what, young enough that I'm still freaked out a little bit when I look at a really dark corner in the closet and I'm like, if
Oh,
I
yeah.
hear that cat sound, I am out of this house. Like, you can't really have Harry Potter after that. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cute and it's soft and you have this
Exactly.
basilisk thing hidden in.
But
That seemed interesting.
it makes you though. At times it makes you have to step back and be like, you know what? But the way that we see, like The Grudge and how I'm talking about like Beastmaster and all those movies like that, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like even like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them or whatever. Even all those things to us may seem like, oh, that's shit, but like there are some people out there where that is, unfortunately, in my opinion, that's their first experience with like seeing magic and seeing all that stuff. It's like,
I mean,
that's gonna be what they're gonna see.
I try not to feel, I try not to like make people feel bad.
Yeah.
Because like, what I heard from growing up, a lot of people were conservative Christians, and Harry Potter was witchcraft.
I got that quite a bit when I was younger.
Which is like, it's kind of funny being on the topic. Like, you guys thought Harry Potter was a very bad influence for children to consume from a Christian standpoint. So
For sure.
like, going into anything darker than that would be a lot, even though to people with taste like us, we're like, oh, it's Berserker, yeah, that's tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I have yet to start watching it. I do want to watch it.
Berserk?
Rip that Band-Aid
Oh
off.
my god. I need to dedicate an entire. I have to dedicate an entire sitting to Berserk to talk about that. And honestly, I might have to even do it alone so I don't completely embarrass myself, because I have so much to say about that show. So much to say about that manga. There is a lot. I have when I watched it for the first time, I sat up every night. I watched an episode a night. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I watched an episode every night, only one. And I fucking remember I had never cried over a cartoon series before. And I remember like bawling my fucking eyes out watching this happen to me. And then they made the new one on Netflix that came out, I want to say about 6 years ago maybe. And I watched that one. They cut down a lot of stuff. They cut a lot of stuff out, but they put a lot of stuff together. Unpopular opinion, I fucking enjoyed it. I did. I loved it. It's 3 movies, I think. You watch them in sequence. Each one's about an hour and 20 minutes. You'll get the whole first season with a little bit of extra, a little bit taken out, a little bit put in. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I thought it was good. Some people are going to hate my opinion about that. That's fine. That's okay. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I liked it.
A good story is a good story.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I loved Netflix's version of One Piece, the live
Mhm.
action. Even
Yeah.
though it's way off the fucking
Oh,
original.
for sure.
It's the same with The Witcher, but like,
There's like
still a good story.
there's like a million episodes of fucking One
They're
Piece.
still
Like,
going.
how
They're
are you
still
gonna fit that
adding
into
them.
one episode? People get mad about it.
You can't.
Yeah, you're
You
not gonna
can't.
do that. But Berserk, though, and that's another thing too. I guess we could kind of talk about Berserk because it goes for comics, goes for books, and it also goes for magic. 'Cause there's a lot of magic in Berserk,
Mm.
and especially where it's heading in the where it was heading.
Because it sounds like it's nitty gritty and dark, and you're like, high, super low, but then they come up.
There's never an in between with that thing. There is either this is some terrible, awful, horrible, bad shit that's happening to this person, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, at least it's nice outside.
Yeah, this is the one plus.
Yeah. And honestly, if anything, watching Berserk will make anybody be like, well, my life's not so bad. Because if you need a pick-me-up, that would be definitely something to go back and be like, oh my god, like, these people, lives fucking suck. Because they start, when you first start, there's the Golden Age,
Mm-hmm.
which is called the Golden Age, is when they are just, like, on swords. Like swordsmen, horseback, fighting barbarians, fighting each other, with a very whisper of magic and supernatural worlds and different creatures.
In the edge of the woods.
Yeah, it's kind of there's something you might run into with something and you're in the woods by yourself on a full moon or something like that, And then it goes from that to them seeing something that is otherworldly and is completely unexplained. And not just like 4 or 5 men see this, like an entire fucking army sees this thing that they cannot explain. And it happens like it starts to happen more and more frequently. And then and then there's like this. I don't want to tell you everything of the story, but there's a huge turnaround in there, and then all of a sudden everything just becomes fucking dark, like Dark Ages. No, like dark everything, like
Yes.
terrible, and then the world comes over and they bring into like magic. And this is where a lot of fans got upset because they started involving magic in there like so heavily. Like there's a character that joins later on in the show, and I mean I keep saying the show because I just did the show. I read the mangas, but I keep talking about the show because the show's more fresh in my mind. And in the show, she's this little girl. She's got a hat. She has big witch hat and the the staff. She's a mage and she's casting spells and she's doing illusions and going into people's minds and doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
Badass. And people didn't like that.
What?
People were mad about it. I'm like, fuck you, dude. It's magic. You got a dude swinging a 200-pound sword with one hand.
That's pretty impressive, man.
Right.
That's like
That's
you know,
impossible.
Islanders with the log tossing. They're like, here we go.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't even move that with all my body weight
Well,
on the floor.
Guts is like 6'5", like 300 pounds of muscle. Just this giant man who is
already impossibly Superman big.
yeah. He's this really really big fucking guy, and he's always using the big sword, and his sword gets bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Why
Like
it just keeps getting
his sword
bigger?
gets huge. He uses a thing called the Dragon Slayer, and the Dragon Slayer is like a sword the size of like a person. Like he's wielding a fucking basically a human by their feet is what he's using as a sword. And he gets to a point where the sword he gets before that one, then when he earns the name the 100-Man Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Alright.
he fucking freaks out these guys by telling them that his sword isn't even sharp. It's going through men with armor by just his pure anger alone. Like, boom. And then there's a part that always like gets me kind of choked up and misty-eyed when I watch that show. And as cheesy as and as like, oh my god, as it sounds, but he's fighting all these guys by himself, and he starts to doubt his own like. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why are we here?
Oh no.
Like, why is this happening right now? And then he's like, just like straight goth emo boy in the middle of a fucking fight, just be like, oh my god, I fucking suck. Life's
But
awful.
still mowing
I
people
should die
down.
right now. I shouldn't even be alive. Why am I fighting so hard? It's one of my favorite parts of the whole story. And yeah, and the one that they made, the shorter one, the movies, like I said, the 4-part movies, I got to the last one morning. I woke up and I'm like, I'm watching Berserk again. I'm so happy. I just got Crunchyroll. I'm going to watch the cartoons all over, blah, blah, blah. And I sat down and I'm watching it and I'm chilling. I'm smoking my Wake and Bake, smoking my joint. And I'm just like, oh no. I forgot about this. It's like, oh shit. So I had to bite down and put myself in for another ride. It was rough. It was really, really rough. But I strongly suggest, if you're strong enough to watch it, watch it. It's a good desensitizer as well. They hit to me, obviously I'm a fan. It hits every mark. 10 out of, it's a fucking 100 out of 10 for me. I love that show. And I love that character with everything.
Been like a vague feeling and like an interest. Like, I'm feeling drawn to it. I should like watch it, see what's going on.
I strongly suggest. And if I haven't spoiled it for y'all, the listeners, by all means, go and fucking check out Berserk. Stop listening right now and just go watch Berserk and take it in any way you can, whether it be by the manga or by the show. Either way it goes, you can't go wrong. The characters are great. The story is beautiful. The design is great. The art is amazing.
That's one of the best parts of manga and anime.
Also, a little bit, he gets armor at some point in the story, and it makes him look straight up like fucking Batman. So like, that's another thing. I'm like, yeah, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get the symbol that they get on their. He gets a symbol branded onto his neck.
Yeah.
And it's the Berserker symbol. It looks kind of like a figure 8.
Oh,
and it's got the pitchfork in the middle. It's got a 3-point line. Then you got the figure 8.
I've probably seen that online so many times. Like, that's
yeah,
cool.
I want to get that on. I don't want it on my neck, though. I want it on my hand. Yeah, if I had a pen. I had a pen around here somewhere. I'll find it eventually. But
if only you had an electronic
device. If I had... Only if there was some kind of technology that existed where I could type in Berserker symbol and it would show me.
Or almost some kind of paperless art device you could just finger paint.
Something, yeah. That's true. That would probably be faster than anything else on my fucking device. If I just had something on here that let me just draw it. Damn, that'd be great.
2023, what you doing?
That's not for you, don't look at that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that is for you, so don't look at it.
That's a nice map you got there.
Thanks. Yeah, and the game, like, I was talking about, like, they made a game of it, too. It was pretty good. It looked cool, anyways. But yeah, it goes in the middle. It's got a fork, and then on the outside, it might be here or here, I think. One of them goes like that. Goes down. And with this line goes all the way through the middle.
I think I have seen that, but that is straight up runes, just...
Yeah, they're supposed to be. Well, it takes place in it looks like Europe area of the map. But, yeah, okay, so we had my notes here. Here's what we like to see. What would be something you would like to see done with magic in, like, a movie or something? Like, something that an idea that you've had in your head or something that you've seen once and like to see, like, again?
More positive attributes to magic, and like, if you are gonna talk about witchcraft and Wicca, anything related to pagan beliefs, they should really do their research and not just like use generic biases like, oh, you're a hippie kind of pagan, or you're the blood sacrifice kind of.
You should check out a movie. Check out a movie called The Last Witch Hunter. It's with Vin Diesel. It's not the best movie ever, but it's definitely does a little bit something different. It does something close along those lines.
Okay.
I see the narrator stop by again. What is today's stream about? I turned in way too late. What's up, narrator? We are talking about magic. I'm here with my friend Kelly.
Hey.
We're just here chilling. I got a little Ghost of Tsushima on the background here, and we are just talking about magic. It's the return of my live stream. It's the return of my podcast that I'm putting on live stream, is what I meant to say. As you can probably tell, we've can't wait to go back and rewatch this and catch the part where we slowly transition from being sober to slightly caffeinated and stoned. Oh, I hope you've been having a good day. So, the other note I had here for magic. Yeah, I guess if I had to pick something I'd like to see done again with magic is like I want to see more of like summoning. I think that's really cool. I don't see enough. You don't see enough of that, and as weird and as like kind of it looks on like on paper or like on screen. I still think it just looks aesthetically cool. Is when they like somebody's doing something and they like summon like giant hands that come out of the sky, or like they summon like a shark to come out of the ground and bite somebody and go back into like a portal or something. Like I always thought that was really cool. Or like in Skyrim when you conjure like your sword, you conjure like the bow, like doing Green Lantern shit. Like I want to see it applied more like hands on as opposed to like oh, great power and blah blah blah, and shooting like just like a little out of the tip of your wand, or like you stomp your staff and you make like a bubble. Like I want to see more than that in movies. I guess they just seem to do the same thing over and over again. I just kind of want to see like show it actually doing some crazier shit than that. And Doctor Strange did kind of do some of that, but I don't know. There was something. I think I'll be bold and say it. I wanted it bloodier.
I was waiting for a moment because that's what I was about to say. Like we need something a little bit more adult here, something aimed towards the older generations, so that we can explore more complex topics,
for sure.
different dualities, see different abilities in general. Like someone who's like had a whole life, not just a teenager who's the chosen one who's got to save the world.
Yeah, not like this specific relic or this thing that you have to like. Whenever something's based with magic, it has to do with like a magical item. Like I want to see magic just be there, but somebody's got to do some weird, other crazy shits on the line. It just so happens that the person here is using magic.
Like I always think of the Mummy. Like that was a good one. Like something.
Shit, yeah.
Something
I love the Mummy.
Along those lines, like we need more originality and like you said, flexibility with the abilities.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Hell yeah, you just blew my mind with that one. I fucking forgot all about
the Sandman.
Yeah,
the Sandman.
Yeah, the Sandman. When he made the wall with it, that was dope. And he did the same thing on the second one, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had to bring it back 'cause it was so good.
It was cool. That was the fucking trailer.
Yep.
That's what got people wanting to go see the fucking movie. Was that?
Gotta see it.
Yeah, I think it was the wide shot is what sells it. It's because you're not seeing it from like the scale of like from where they are in the plane. It's like they're showing you from like if you were back here and you're seeing that shit happen.
Mm-hmm.
The spectator view, I think that's really cool. Like pulled back like that is really really sick to see.
I think it works as a good foundation so that eventually you pull the viewer in, or it comes to the viewer, and you just get that little bit of heartbeat going.
Mm-hmm. That would be sick. Mm. What is your favorite magical item that you've seen that you always thought was like one item that you would want to have? That'd be like the magical thing. Like I would have that. I want that.
Twofold.
Okay.
Like Mary Poppins' purse.
Right on.
You can. She can store a lot in there.
Bitch could sleep in that thing.
It sounds like a possible portal to somewhere. So, like,
Okay.
maybe it's a secret room you can hide in your purse.
A bag of holding.
Something.
Yeah.
And then out of that purse, some kind of like invisibility cloak.
All right. Like, how invisible would you want to go? Like, completely invisible?
Something where you're almost basically a ghost, so it solves the catch-22 of like, well, what if someone touches you or you make a noise?
Okay. I can see that. That'd be dope. Yeah, Mary Poppins bag. Like, did they ever show her going into that thing?
I don't think so. She just pulls a bunch of things out, but in my brain I think about it. I'm like, well, you know, what fictional properties does this purse have? What are the limits?
Also, like, how does she know what she's grabbing?
Exactly. So when she looks down into it, is it like a miniature room that's all organized and then just like some weird 5D, 4D, 3D
Right, because if you look into it, what would it
barrier
look like?
broken?
What would it look like if you were holding it in your hand? Like, would it just look like a black abyss?
Yeah, and do you just like summon exactly what you need?
Yeah.
Does it know exactly what you need?
Stick your arm in there. What would it look like if you drop a camera into that motherfucker?
What if you stick it over your head and just let it drop
Just
over your
drop
body?
over your whole body. I'm out this bitch.
Like, where does it go? How would you get out if you did that?
Knowing you're gonna be late for something the next day, just go there the day before and leave that bitch there and jump in.
Is it a weird liminal space? Like,
Right? Could I live there? Because that'd be pretty crazy. Be like, where do you live? I live in my sister's basement. I just in this bag. I don't have to pay anything. Man, I think if I could have any two items, magical items, two magical items. See, I want to go. My first thought would be to go with Perseus' helmet from Clash of the Titans. That was my first thing I wanted to go to because he puts the helmet on and he goes invisible, and you can just see his footprints. That sounds cool, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I would be so clumsy if I was invisible.
I'm sorry, just like you just see footstep,
Yep,
handprint,
handprint, leg,
get back up.
entire side of body, and then me dragging myself to get back up.
Like, there he was. There he goes.
Also, if you could hear my footprint, you could see the footprints. You'd probably be able to hear my footprints too. Hear like the footsteps, like.
I guess as long as you don't trip, it could be intimidating because just seeing footprints come at you.
Oh, that'd freak me the fuck
Yeah,
out.
that's
Yeah,
weird shit.
That would scare the shit out of me. Where are you at with that, horror movies?
It's always with children when they do that, though,
Right.
so it's extra creepy. So A+.
I can't remember what movie it was where I saw the trailer where the lady's calling her son and her son starts running at her, but like
Ooh,
he gets
no,
like
I don't like
halfway
that.
he gets like halfway to her and he turns into like a grown ass man like going to give her a hug.
No.
It was a trailer. I can't remember where it was. It was a movie I saw a while back. She's like, "What's wrong, honey?" He's like, "I can't sleep." And he's rubbing her eyes. She goes, "Oh, well, come here, honey." And then they show it from like over her shoulder.
Of course they did.
And he's going, and when he goes, like he just starts like beelining at her like a motherfucker. Then it just turns into like a full grown dude like giving her a hug. It was weird because he's wearing the same shit her son was wearing.
Oh,
Like the
that's
pajama
even
pants and the
weirder.
t-shirt. Like yeah, it was
Ew.
weird.
That's creepy on so many levels.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold up, I gotta.
I guess another magical ability would be just being magical yourself. So you can create portals. That'd be nice to just be like, I want to go to Hawaii. There it is.
Yeah, the sling ring from Doctor Strange would be cool. The little, because he can do that little summoning thing. But I think if I chose a magical item, I think magical item number 2 would have to definitely be some kind of a weapon. I would want some kind of a magical weapon. But I don't know which one goes off the top of my brain. Like there's so many magic weapons.
So many things you could do. Like, you could just... I'd go with the tattoo.
I want to say the Green Lantern ring, but I don't know if the Green Lantern ring would count as magic.
I feel like it does, though.
It would have to. I think it does.
Unless you get into, like, science and you start explaining it in that way.
But it isn't. They do point out in the comics, in the cartoons, in the movies, it is alien. It is from another planet. But just because it's from another planet doesn't mean it can't be magic from that planet.
True, that, and, I mean, on the other side of calling things magic, it's just like you don't quite understand how it works, so it
Right.
seems magical.
So, if you know magic on one planet, and you go to another planet, do you think the same spells would work?
That would bring physics into question,
Right.
and spirituality at that point, and consciousness, I feel.
Because that little guy there, Orko, I have a little tiny little Orko from Masters of the Universe. You can turn him around and look at him. He's a little blue guy. Yeah, he's from another planet, another dimension, where he is a total fucking badass. Like, he's the hero of that world. But in the universe that he lives in, which is on Eternia, where he's another planet where he goes, like another alternate world or whatever, all of his spells are backwards. So he gets them wrong all the time. He fucks up. He'll be like, I got this! And he's gonna like make like a fireball, and instead he makes like a fucking cream pie.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws it, and it like falls on his own face. You know? Shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if I had to choose... Yeah, I would say the Green Lantern ring. I'm gonna say right now, for me, I consider the Green Lantern ring to be magic. For me, anyways. They might say different, but it might as well fucking be magic. You have this tiny ring that's made out of stone, or it's made out of any kind of weird... Like, it looks like it's made out of metal with a fucking energy beam in the middle of it. You're gonna tell me that's some kind of tech? No, that's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic. It creates whatever you can think.
Yeah, that's magic, because
Yeah.
how does it know what's going on inside your head that well?
Exactly, and it's created by a bunch of little short blue dudes that are floating around. Walking around.
The Blue Man Group.
Being all weird. The Blue Man Group. The Blue Man Group made this.
That's their secret.
Oh, yeah. So I'd probably say a Green Lantern ring would be one of my magical items I would want. And then my second one... Ooh, it would be the ticket from the movie Last Action Hero. You ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
Alright, the movie Last Action Hero has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Okay.
And this little kid... This kid loves action movies. He's a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. He goes to the movies, and the man who watches the movie theater... the projector runner, whatever they're called. I'm sorry, I don't know right now, but whatever. He gives him a ticket that Harry Houdini gave him. And he's like, this ticket can transport you to other worlds. And he rips it in half, because that's what you do to check tickets, you know. And he rips it in half, gives one half to the kid, throws the other half away. The kid goes there, turns out the fucking ticket is magic, and it takes you into movies.
Oh no.
How fucking cool would that be? To have that. To be able to go into any movie you wanted.
That would be really awesome.
In and out. As long as you had that ticket, you can go in and out of any movie you wanted to go.
That would be so sweet.
Oh,
You'd
I
do
would
so many things.
What would be the first movie you would go to? What? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's a question I'm going to
Okay.
throw at you now.
Okay, God.
Here's a question I'm going to throw at you. What's the first movie you would go into, and what would be and what would you change in that movie? There's zero consequences to this.
Okay, so... I feel like the obvious one,
Mhm.
everyone wants to go on Titanic so they can save Jack. Alright? But I would go to, I would save the boy from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Oh, damn. Right on.
So, you know, whether Jack actually could fit on the door or not, we'll never know. It's what the writers wanted.
When you said you'd go save the boy in the striped pajamas, I just got like the image of you with the Green Lantern ring, just like little boy. You're holding the kid by the hand, and with the Green Lantern ring, you're just like decimating an entire army of Nazis. You just make a giant snowplow the size of a building. You're just like boring down all this fucking big bunch of dudes.
Just unspeakable things would happen.
Yep. Just the bloodiest DC movie ever.
Because it would turn into more than just saving that little boy. It's like, well, we can't just have one chip. We gotta have the whole bag.
Yeah, we gotta get everybody. You keep running, you only die tired.
You know,
I think the first movie I would go into... It would be Lord of the Rings.
oh, that would be cool.
I would go into when the Uruk-hai come to attack Minas Tirith. I would go there, and right when everybody showed up and they were like, oh, everything's hopeless, I would just show up and just take everybody down. I would just destroy everyone. No, I mean everyone.
Everyone, even the good guys?
Yes.
Oh my god,
I
just
would
end it
wipe
all.
everybody off the fucking face of that fucking map.
No more problems.
Yep, and then I would go face Saruman. I would take the ring to Saruman. I'd fight Saruman.
That's a hell of a way to play video games.
Yep. I would wipe everybody out, and then I would take the ring myself, and I would take it to Saruman.
Okay, but would that apply to just your copy of the movie, or would that affect everyone else's?
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I've always wondered, too. Because I've watched this movie so many times as a kid. I did. I grew up watching this movie. It's a pretty funny fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like, Arnold's funny. I don't care what anybody says. Arnold is fucking funny.
He is.
He's a good actor. He's got it, but you just don't really see it a lot in him because it's hard to get past his voice. It's just the truth. But he plays Goofy really well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't ever really take Arnold serious, and he plays on that really hard in that movie.
It's fun to see him play Goofy.
Like, he comes home and he takes his jacket off, he throws it onto the bed, he pulls his fucking Desert Eagle out, and he just unloads on the fucking wall, like on the door to his closet. The kid's like, what'd you do that for? And he opens it up and the fucking dude falls out dead. He's like, there's a guy in there? He's like, there's always a guy in there.
Oh, there's always a guy. Why? Why? Is this a...
Yeah.
It's just a chore, you know?
Yeah, like straight up, like putting your keys in a bowl. Like he did that. He just was like pop, 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 and then just puts it down
Casually.
Kid's like, "What'd you do that for?" And he opens it up. Dude falls out holding like I think he's holding like a Uzi and like a rope. Like he's got like the fucking ski mask, like typical bad guy, you know.
The bad guy outfit.
Yep, that's all he does. You know, there's always someone in there. It's like, Jesus.
Wow, you have a totally different life.
But no, it would have to be. It's so good though. It's such a good movie. But I would love that item though. That ticket to go into any movie you wanted. I would like to go into Titanic too though. Because I would fuck with that movie. Because that movie's runtime is like 3 hours or some shit.
There's so much time.
And the ship gets fucked up, I think, after like the first hour, I think, if I can remember correctly. So you got 2 hours of people just fucking having a terrible time.
Yeah.
What would happen if you steer them away from the iceberg?
Yeah, what if we just saved everyone?
What if the Titanic didn't sink, yo?
Oh.
Cthulhu would wake up.
Something, because are we bending history and time now?
Hail Cthulhu. But I don't know, maybe. That would be fucking sick. That would be sick.
Could you?
I mean, I'm just saying that'd be so... What would that movie be like for the remaining 2 hours?
We just see people partying and enjoying their cruise ship before they get to their destination.
They're just chilling.
Jack does another painting.
Billy Zane this time.
No, I think he'd have a confrontation or a fight with the, the lady's fiance/husband.
Yeah, that was Billy Zane. That's the actor's name. He's a fucking...
Oh.
No, you're fine. It's he played a superhero in a movie, believe it or not.
Which one?
Her husband, the guy who's her betrothed.
Oh no, which superhero?
Oh, he played the Phantom.
The Phantom.
The Phantom.
Gives me Hollow Man vibes.
Oh, hold on.
I'm already unsure.
It's okay. Let me find an image.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
He's so creepy as the Hollow Man.
The Hollow Man was fucking crazy because it's like, oh, you get these powers to fucking be invisible. What's the first thing you do? I'm gonna go and assault people. It's the first thing I want to do.
I'm gonna watch a lady shower.
Right.
That's like been in my brain for
and
a
I
long
swear,
time.
if one of you bastards listening to this takes that shit out of context, what we both just said, I can't do anything about it, can I? Fuck.
It's the internet.
Internet, boom. However, we did not mean that that's what we wanted to do. That's just what we were saying. Anyhow, fucking yeah, dude, fuck that guy. He's being gross.
I always made fun of him because his last name was Bacon.
That can't be easy to live with that. But yeah, this was the Phantom.
I don't think I've ever...
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I don't think I've ever even heard of him.
It's very set. He's like one of the world's first superheroes.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, the movie's set in its time that it was made, which is like the 20s or 1940s, you know. Like Tommy guns and see, like like I said, not a terrible movie, not the worst movie ever.
Yeah.
But it's not in any way like, you know, honey, let's stay in and watch The Phantom.
You'd just be like, I'd rather go out.
Yeah. If it's a choice between going out to the bar or watching The Phantom, I mean, how long has it been since you've been to the bar?
Or I might pause and be like, Danny Phantom? Can we do that?
Danny Phantom would probably be the better choice.
Like, are we gonna binge and make some, like, blanket forts and snacks?
But yeah, you would think a guy with the name The Phantom would have phantom-like powers, but no, he's just mysterious guy who has two Colt 45s and has a ring with a skull on it.
So he can't even, like, phase through walls or anything?
I think he can turn invisible, if I can remember correctly. I don't remember all his powers, if he has any at all.
So he's a dude with guns and a ring?
Yeah.
Is he like the Punisher?
No. No. I think about that anytime I see any person with guns that calls himself a superhero. I'm like, so the Punisher?
Like, he's the anti-hero.
You're either the
guys.
Punisher or you're Batman. You're one of the two. If you don't have superpowers, you're trying to beat somebody's ass. You're either the Punisher or you're trying to be Batman. One of those two is you're trying to be. It's just how it is. Yep, looking at you, Spawn.
Oh my god.
No, but I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of that in the superhero world as well, of like magic. Like Doctor Strange isn't the only one that does the magical stuff, and I know we keep talking about Doctor Strange quite a bit, but it seems
he's the most magical superhero we got. And
yeah,
he had an interesting little evolution because they bring in like not just magic, but the whole lifestyle aspect to the spiritual belief that the magic came from.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other one that came out for that Black Adam movie was like DC's equivalent of Doctor Strange, because they both came out around the same time. I think maybe Doctor Strange came out a little bit before, or not Doctor Fate, because he's even called Doctor. Doctor Fate is, I think he came out a bit before Doctor Strange for DC, and he kind of does all the same shit. He's a sorcerer. He goes between worlds and life and death, but all the magic again is in the helmet. Yeah, it's not like Doctor Strange how he can do all the spells and stuff. It's mostly in the helmet, but I think he does. The guy who is in the helmet at times, I think it has been portrayed to be able to like wield to some level magic outside of the helmet, which would make sense.
So, okay, well that might make this next question kind of moot, but like, would Iron Man be considered magical?
To the point that they showed on the movies? From what they show in the movies, most definitely. Because some of that shit, like that's not science.
They're making up their own science.
That's not science. Just because he has schematics and the layout doesn't mean it's science. But because they try to yada that away with Thor when he's like, I come from a world where they're both one and the same.
I was gonna bring that up too. Like, what if something from, Thor's realm did happen into human hands?
Yeah.
Besides that whole fiasco with Loki.
Yeah, there's the whole Jane Foster getting one of the element things in her body and it spills over to the world thing. That happened in there quite a bit too. His hammer is definitely, because they call the hammer magic all the time. They still refer to things as magic, even though they're talking about how magic and tech are one and the same.
Yeah, because their argument was like, well, how is it magical? And he's like, because you have to be worthy and honorable. And it's like, well,
right.
How do they measure that? And it's like, well, because it measures you. It's kind of like,
So
we're going to weigh your heart against this feather to see how pure you are.
So would that, if you're going to look at that from a sci-fi point of view, and if he's saying that technology and magic are one and the same, then what that theory is basically saying about Thor's hammer is you have the hammer has an AI system in it that identifies you, the person, on a certain level of blood pressure, hair, movement, everything. Like you have to be a very specific way for this thing to work with you.
Would it be like possibly nanotechnology?
In a way.
To get that, maybe even like cellular information?
Yeah, because like once you grab it and hold on, that's when it knows. You have to like hold on and touch it to pick it up, I think that's how it reads. But it reads at such a high level, at a high speed.
It's just inconceivable, like we just have no way of like...
Because if you think of it, like then also if we're staying on like the sci-fi aspect of that way, that usage of magic, then you're saying that like even when it calls his like thunder, when it calls the thunder down to him, that's almost like it's like a high transmitter, like how a phone works. Well, how does he get the armor? Well, it's how do you get this text? Through the phone, through the hammer.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how I think that's how they yada yada that away. But there's still worlds where there's magic existing in those worlds still.
I mean, Black Panther.
Yeah,
They
like
said it was technology
but-
from this very specific mineral that they used, but it looked like magic.
Yeah, then-
like
well, it might as fucking well
this
be. 'Cause
high-tech,
it does
eco-driven.
everything.
Yeah, you just have to figure it out. Like,
Yeah, they're like it does absolutely everything. What do we need it to do? Whatever the fucking writer needs it to do.
Yeah,
that's
he
what
had to.
that's what vibranium does.
because if you could actually heal someone's gun wound in a day with a mineral that can be used for everything in society, what's the
Right.
point of money and working now?
Fix you with vibranium. It's like no, it can't do Why does it do everything? They never explain why. It just
That's magic.
does. Yeah, that's
But this-
magic as fuck.
Yeah, that seems to be the basis of magic, because you could do anything you put your imagination to, because we don't know what the rules are.
Right.
Like,
So I mean, I think that is also not only the most frustrating, but also the most liberating thing of using magic. But but when it goes to that scale, it's like, no, you can't one word this away. How the fuck is this
no.
working?
We need more.
Because even at this point, magic would be explaining itself right now, and you are not.
There'd be just a little bit of something here.
Yeah.
A conversation.
Yep. Nope. Just so happen to be lucky with this meteor. Like,
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, you guys.
Yep. I mean, the same thing could be said with the series I've been watching. I started watching the Superman and Lois on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. It's pretty drama heavy, but it's from the CW. So, what do you expect? It's gonna be a soap opera. It's literally labeled under television drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna have that in there, but it's not bad. But the thing they just introduced that I've been out of a bit of the comic circle for quite a while, but I've never once heard of them having Superman with a brother who came to Earth before he did, like way before he did, grew up like with his powers and stuff, and also being able to like just turn humans into Kryptonians, like give you like Superman powers, boom, like on a very lower level, but still be able to give you that ability.
This is a new idea.
Because apparently the Earth was riddled with meteor showers after he landed, which is more parts of Krypton. So that's why the world has kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
But now the world has other forms of kryptonite too. There's all different kinds of forms of kryptonite on Earth.
Okay.
Yeah. And they introduced one called X kryptonite. And the X kryptonite is what you can use to give a person abilities, but only it starts off with only people from Smallville, because that's where the mines are that have this kryptonite, but then it slowly becomes like a thing that just anybody can get, I guess. I think. There's been a lot of the episodes where I've kind of like spent more time like sketching on my tablet, or
Yeah, it's a nice background noise.
it's a good background noise, but I've been keeping up with most of the story. But that's like, I don't know, where I'm at right now, that's kind of being used as like a street drug right now in Smallville. And this portrayal of Smallville, it's not like this pleasant place in Kansas. It's like this kind of like on its way like down the drain, just like little town.
Oh no. Getting sad and dark and gray.
Yeah, but thing I've been the most confused about is they're talking about Superman and he's dealing with all this shit, and they have not once brought in or shown Supergirl. On topic with this too, though, funny that Superman is weak to, well, not weak, but he doesn't have as much of a resistance to magic. So you can use magic to hurt Superman. Yeah.
I never really thought Superman had many weaknesses beyond kryptonite.
No, magic is one of them. For sure.
Just
I remember
trap him in
seeing... Oh, we got another... So we had a comment there. Can't see it. Try to see what somebody wrote. Let's see here. Chat. That's the second time that's done that. It was weird. The other night, I had like 30 some comments in chat, and I couldn't see anything but like maybe 5 or 6 of them. It was weird. I think that the worst that I've seen in a lot of the magic uses in movies, for me, if we're talking that way, is definitely going to be Black Panther, like we're saying with that, because it just does way too much.
I mean, it was cool when the necklace contained the whole armor suit.
Yeah, stuff like that's dope, but like I don't know. I guess maybe it does end up being like, unless it's going to be some kind of thing like alien, like particle tech or whatever, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, just call it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is just call it magic.
Yeah. Because, like, you can call it alien tech, but, like...
No, vibranium is magic. It has to be.
Because you're saying it can do everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it makes clothes. It makes this. Like, I can have this blanket, and I can put it in front of my face, and all of a sudden I have, like, an energy shield in front of me. Like, that's fucking magic, man.
Like, how do you make it make sense?
There's no form of tech you can throw at me and be like, this is technology. Like, no, dude, that's magic as fuck.
You know, telekinesis, does that fall under magic?
There's levels of that have been said to be. Like, I think one of the spells that you get in, I think it was D&D, or it was something like D&D that I remember playing a while back, and the way they explained that, as the description of the spell was, you're not using telekinesis, you're using your mind to... It's more like telepathy, a form of telepathy. You're using your mind to speak to an invisible friend, like another being on a different realm, to do something for you that can't be seen. Like, you control like invisible things, not so much that you can move things with your mind.
Oh, okay.
So like if you'd be putting your hand out to like that bag, it'd be like it would come to your hand, but it's not because you're pulling it with your brain, it's because you're commanding somebody to grab it and give it to you.
It's just some demon that's like,
yeah,
you really can't get up and grab the donut yourself. You know what? Fine, here.
Cue Ben Affleck meme where he's smoking a cigarette and his head is, I just said. It's right. Yep. Oh man.
Cool thing though, like I've always wanted to like have flame come out of my fingers, so I could be like, I'm gonna light this joint. It started with I'm gonna light this cigarette, but
Yeah,
you know we
like
don't
the
do
joint.
that.
Do it with
anymore.
the would you use the thumb or would you use the index finger?
I would want to be able to use whatever, but it would probably be the thumb most of the
Yeah,
time.
flick it on purpose.
Yes.
Just
Exactly. Like, oh man, I can't find my lighter. Oh well.
Yep. I would be I would just do this with it. I would like do like I'm flipping a coin. That was the move I would do. Just imagine like not being able to blow out your thumb.
That's gotta be.
Like, oh shit.
That's a learning curve because how do you make it work? It's like Spider-Man. He doesn't. Well, the one Spider-Man that has it actually come out of his body.
Yeah, the Tobey Maguire one.
He's like, I don't know. It just goes.
It just happens. You ever get like a web block?
Like, no.
I think he did on the second one. I think he said, he goes, yeah.
Driven.
It's like an emotional thing. He's like,
Yeah.
so you're like emotional with your webs? That was I enjoyed that part of that movie. I like the whole
That
description
was-
about the webs. It's like, yeah, they're kind of weird, man. I always thought that was weird when I seen that in the movie. I was like, oh, that's gross as fuck.
I know, I was just like, oh my gosh, what if you had other abilities from the spider and it wasn't just the webs out of your arms? What if your face transformed and you had extra limbs growing? There could be so many things that go wrong.
There is one like that.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah, he gets
Getting all
he gets
itchy.
all altered. He gets all fucking altered up and shit, and his mutation picks up, and he ends up growing like an extra set of arms. So he gets arms, so he's got the full 8 arms thing going on.
No, not 8. That's too many.
I think there's 6. I think he has 6 of them.
That's still too many.
I think he ends up having 6 limbs because the 7, 8 would be his legs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, what if you had extra pairs of legs and arms?
Oh god.
Ugh. Would he like go on his hands and?
Well, he tries to stop the mutation. and it
Okay.
alters more, and then he grows like it turns like a werewolf spider thing. Like he
No.
turns into like this big hairy, like shooting venom out of his mouth, like acid, and shooting webs out of all four of the arms to swing by. Shit, yeah, it was crazy.
I want to see that.
Oh yeah, it's there's a thing on that. There's one of the couple episodes in the cartoon that did that, and then they did it in the comic afterwards. I think. I'm pretty sure it was a move to sell toys, probably.
Probably, but still, it's a crazy.
Because I loved Spider-Man as a kid, and I liked him growing up, but I didn't really get too much into the comics. Yeah, that would be. Oh man, webs out of your toes would be funny. How, how come there's no? I don't know if there's any spells like that in D&D
For shooting webs?
for shooting out webs. Definitely have
I've
to. If
never-
that's not one, then we gotta make it.
It should be. We need more weird things because, like, it feels like people gatekeep magic and imagination sometimes. Like, no,
Mhm.
it doesn't follow the rules, and it's like, why? Like, because they're too godlike. It's like, we'll make something stronger than me. We'll fix it. We'll figure.
Shit.
Yeah, come on now. We gotta magic.
Just keep going up. Oh man. No, I would be all about that though. Making like a Spider-Man spells or some kind of like weird arachnic kind of movements to shoot webs out of your hands or out of your fingertips.
Being able to crawl all over like a chameleon.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool just to do in general.
Just as cool as. Oh, I mean, flying is pretty amazing, so I don't know if there's anything that could second that. Breathing underwater.
Breathing underwater would be cool. I would like to. I think because from there we kind of go off into like mutant and abilities and stuff like that. But that would definitely be a fun one, like breathing underwater or flying.
It's funny how magic goes into that line of mutant abilities.
Yeah.
It's funny, so like magic is inherent to the person. It can be transferred to an object.
Yeah. Would magic be a mutant ability?
A lot of places and locations are magical.
Because there is a character called Magic
Oh.
who she like has the power to like open portals to hell.
Oh.
Like that's her power. She can like go in between dimensions, and she has a dimension that she can go to and mess with shit, and she summons like her sword and weapons through it and stuff. But again, like would that, like you said earlier, like is that going to be mutant abilities, magic? Where does that line blur or even end?
So I feel like it starts to beg the question on quantum physics and science because, like, I'm totally paraphrasing, but there's a quote out there that's like, as soon as science actually starts trying to investigate in what we call magical abilities, or magic in general practices, that will make leaps and bounds more in the first year than we have in the previous decade or something like that. Because just taking it on the perspective of like it's just something we don't understand yet, so like how does this work? How can we that sounded way better inside my head.
Yeah,
But, like,
no, I get what you mean, and like yeah,
or like shutting down the open thinking and discussion that could lead to any kind of new magical possibilities or technologies or
yeah.
advancements.
Magic is a crazy, crazy thing though, because that's like we were talking about earlier. That is the best thing and the most frustrating thing about it, because it's like you can use it to yada yada stuff away, or you can use it to, you know, get mad about it and be like, what the fuck? Make this make sense.
Right. It's just this force, because if she can like go in and out of universes like it's a different room in her house,
Mm-hmm.
but other people can just like waterbend, then that's a spectrum of magic.
Because you would count airbending and all that too. That would be magic too, isn't it?
It
That would
has
have
to be, because like even though it's natural, we can't do that.
Right,
You can't
yeah.
command water to be in whatever shape.
Fire
you want.
bending and stuff. You're summoning all that shit just out of your own self.
Yeah, usually. Sometimes they just make it materialize out of their hands
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have that many resources, and they're like, "Well, I gotta pull from me."
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the thing with that is it has to be magic, because they talk about it that everybody can do it, but nobody does it because some people just don't have their like chi or whatever aligned right, or they're like just don't believe enough or whatever. I can't remember how the Legend of Korra kind of talked about that a little bit, but
Almost like it was something you have to practice, like an innate ability.
yeah, like back to that muscle thing again. Like it's just like a muscle that nobody uses, but those who know how to use it like a motherfucker, and they can do a bunch of weird, crazy shit with it.
Mm-hmm.
What if that is how it really is in real life? Like, what if it's something that we all just forgot how to use, or some only certain people were able to really, truly figure it out?
I mean, biggest question is, how did our ancestors build the things that they built with the precision and the materials
Oh,
and the
yeah.
amount of space they had to travel to put it all together?
Which will make me segue into saying the next time I have you on, we'll talk about aliens, because
Yes.
I feel like that's something that me and you have like said. We've been on your porch and I've been like, all right, later, and we say something, then we end up turning around and it turns into like another hour. So we could definitely, like, aliens is something I've wanted to talk to you, have you on here for too. And I know Thor was talking about coming on here with us, not the actual Thor, our friend Thor, who goes by the name Thor.
As far as we're concerned, he is Thor because we all get so upset
Yeah,
from any other name.
pretty much. That's just his name. But yeah, have him on here too for the next one, and get a couple other episodes rolling here to entertain and hopefully get things rolling again back with us. Do you have anything else you wanted to add before we sign off?
It would probably turn into a magical discussion after the weed kicked in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've already told people, is we talk about this magic is the subjects I usually head for the videos are what we start at. It always spiders off into 100 different other subjects, especially after the passing of the flyer has gone around a couple times. But yeah, thank you all again for coming and checking out the live episode of Hardcore Fiction and bringing it back for us. If you've watched this to the end, I thank you very much, and I hope that you can give me a thumbs up, and why not hit a subscribe while you're at it. But until that time, I'm Ronan, your host. This is Kelly.
Hey. Enjoy stories this holiday season. It's the perfect time.
Oh yeah, definitely get some of those rolling sometime soon too. And yes, you enjoy the rest of your night and day, whatever you're doing, and hopefully we'll see you back here again. Until then, I'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.
Bye.